Hey there, Impactors. I've got some leadership training for you that I'm super pumped about. And in order to incentivize you to listen through the whole video, I am going to throw a bone at you and I'm going to bribe you. So what we're going to do is a little contest. After you've watched this whole video, you'll go back to the YouTube description, click on the link below it, and that will take you to a quiz. Yes, there is a quiz on this training. Fill out that quiz, submit it, and make sure you put what team you serve on, whether it be hospitality or production or Kid City. And whichever team has the highest percentage of participation in that quiz will get a reward. Woo, prizes. So make sure that you listen, fill out the quiz, and turn it in for your team. So let's get into it. Today, I really want to talk about what's called the law of addition. It's found in a book called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by a man named John Maxwell. If you're not familiar, John Maxwell was a former pastor turned businessman, and now he's able to influence not only the Christian world, but the entire world with biblical values on leadership. In this book, he gives 21 laws of leadership, and one I want to focus on with you today so that we can really hone in, and he calls it the law of addition. And the truth, the way he puts it is this: leaders add value by serving others. Now that is so contradictory to the world we live in, which would say that leaders have other people serve them. No, leaders add value by serving others. And I would put it this way: anyone can add value to an organization, but only a true leader will add value to people. You know, maybe you have an incredible skill set, you're really good at something, or you can make a lot of money for your organization, but you're not interested in people. And a leader acknowledges that Jesus was in the business of people. Jesus spent much of his time adding value to people. Don't believe me? Read the Gospels. Simon Peter, Jesus took him from being a fisher of fish to a fisher of men. The adulteress who was thrown at his feet, she had no value when she came to him, and then he led her into a new life where she could realize how much God loved her and that she could step into a life with living without sin, or as close to it as she could, right? The lepers that came to Jesus, who had been cast out from society, completely rejected, he healed them and gave them a chance at a new life. The crippled man, he gave him a chance to walk and to maybe get a job and have a family and all these things that he would not have had before. And we could go on and on and on. The stories are endless of people that Jesus added value to. And he encourages us to do the same. In Matthew 25, Jesus is talking about this final judgment day when we're going to be kind of sifted out, the sheep on one side and the goats on the other. And he puts it this way. He says, "Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me." And the righteous will answer him, saying, "When did we see you hungry and feed you, thirsty and give you a drink? When did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you sick in prison and visit you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, you did it to me." Jesus is saying, when you serve someone else, it's as if you're serving me. He has called us into a ministry of service to others. And so, true leaders will add value by serving others. So how do we do it? Man, there's many different ways, so I'm just going to focus on a few, okay? One way we can add value to others is by edifying them, encouraging them and encourage them specifically. Maybe not just saying, "Hey, good job," but what about that job was good? How can you be specific in the way that you encourage them? I appreciate how you got down an eye level with that child and really had a moment connected with them. I really appreciate how you prepared so well for this teaching. I really appreciate how you communicated so in such a relevant, relatable way to those people. Whatever it is, be specific in your edification. and edify them in a way that maybe relates to them best. Maybe you know they're a person that loves public recognition, and you edify them in front of a lot of people. You know, as Jesus edified John the Baptist in front of a whole crowd, he said, among those born of women, there's none greater than John the Baptist. Man, what an edification. Or maybe they don't want anything to do with public edification, and you edify them privately. You just tell them one-on-one how valuable their contribution is to the team. And lastly, edify them frequently, because there's going to be times where you're going to have not addition moments, but subtraction moments. And you're going to need to make sure there's plenty of change in that bank, that when you subtract from them by giving them constructive criticism or feedback or have a confrontation, that they still have something left in that account. You know, put it this way, as for an example, the first time I preached in Peru, I afterwards went to Pastor Mark Pigley and I said, do you have any feedback for me on the sermon? And he said a couple good things. And then he said, you know, your introduction, though, the story you told was not very relatable for those people. So I encourage you, Mindy, that the next time you prepare a sermon, consider the crowd that you're talking to and make sure that your stories relate to them. And that was a subtraction moment. But because Mark and he has had so many addition moments, he's encouraged me so many times that was not a hit to our relationship. But if he had not, that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. Maybe you never edify people and you only tell them where they're messing up. Man, you just might hit bankrupt with that person and they might walk out of your life or off of your team. So edify. Secondly, teach. You know, you have something to give. You have some wisdom to impart, some experience, some skill sets. And here's where we miss it when it comes to teaching people, is that we get in such a hurry that we don't take the time to really come alongside of them and teach or train them up well. Maybe we delegate something way too quickly and then we just send them off to do a task, assuming they know what they're doing, and they're too insecure to maybe tell you they don't know what they're doing, or maybe they've asked for your help and you're like, you can do it, and really you just didn't want to spend the time, and then things blow up. For instance, one of my kids, and I won't say who, I asked them to trim a bush for me. And I was getting ready for a party at our house, and it was kind of one of those, it had just gone crazy, gone wild. So I gave this child hedge trimmers. Yes, I did. And I said, make it look like a cube. Should be simple enough. Justin was like, are you sure? I went back inside. I just said, here's the thing, make it look like a cube. And I went back inside and Justin was like, are you sure you don't want to go, explain how to do that? I said, how bad could it be? I'll let them learn as they're doing it. Well, a little while later, this person came back inside and said, well, I'm done, but I don't think it's what you wanted. And I went out to find the remnants of this bush. I mean, it was down to like barely anything left. It was kind of like when you're trimming hair and you keep getting it uneven, so you keep cutting it shorter. Well, there was nothing left of this bush, to the point where we just had to uproot it, just dig it out because it's done. So I say that to remind you how important it is to teach and train, to let people come alongside of you, just like Jesus did with his disciples. He spent 3 years letting these disciples come alongside of him and learn before they would have to do it just by his Spirit without him in person. Can you imagine if he had just came and went and said, okay, go evangelize the world, without them having 3 years to watch him do it? It could have been a train wreck. So teach. And lastly, serve. That's what this whole thing is about, right? In the kingdom of God, leader is spelled S-E-R-V-A-N-T, servant. The greatest among you will be the servant of all, Jesus says. And so we are called to serve people. Serve the people that are following us, the people on our teams. Serve the people that are leading us. Serve everyone. Jesus has called us all to serve. I mean, Jesus modeled this in his last chance to have a moment with his disciples in that Last Supper. He could have used it as an opportunity for them to serve him. And yet, as many of us know, are aware, he took it as an opportunity to wash their feet and to encourage us all in that act to serve other people. So we add value to people by serving them. I want to end with a story of a young man who has totally blown me away lately and edify him publicly. Elijah Frazier is in our youth group, and he has really exemplified this. He's a leader without ever having the title. I've never called him one or brought him up or given him a role at all. But he stands up front, he worships with hands held high, he participates, he asks questions. And just this past Thursday, his dad wasn't going to be coming, but Elijah came to youth group and set up the chairs for all of his fellow students. And then when we ran out of chairs and we needed more, without me even asking him, he went and got more chairs and put them out for his peers. That, my friends, is servant leadership. That young man understands this principle, and that's the kind of leader that I strive to be. Just like Elijah, somebody who is not too prideful or too egotistical to get down and serve the people around him. So, leaders add value by serving others. Who can you add value to today? I encourage you to think about this and talk to the people on your team or your team leaders about how we can apply this, and definitely follow that link to fill out the quiz and submit it so your team can be in the running for a reward. Have an awesome day. God bless.